We have a designated area to which the press and anyone taking photos must be sitting in, and it must be to my right over in the press section. Again, as a reminder, no photos during any vote taking. There are a couple of other reminders. If you're parked in a fire lane, please make sure you go out and move your vehicle. The fire department will definitely not appreciate you being there, and they will tow you. There is no smoking on school property. If you feel the need to go out and have a cigarette, you must leave school property entirely. Please turn off your cell phones. No food or drink is allowed in the auditorium with the exception of bottled water. Article 2, Section 2.6 of the Town Charter states that all department heads shall attend the sessions of each town meeting for the purpose of providing town meeting with information pertinent to warrant articles. If any such person is deterred by illness or other reasonable cause, he shall designate a deputy to attend in his place. I will now call for a roll call. Town accountant, administration, animal control, assessor, board of health, chief of police, collector treasurer, community development, conservation, council on aging, emergency medical services, finance committee harbor master, inspectional services, library, municipal maintenance, water pollution control facility, planning, superintendent of schools, selectmen and town clerk are all present. Okay, when we left our town meeting on the last Tuesday night, all of the money articles were placed on the table, so we need a motion to remove Articles 5 through 17, 23 through 28, 30 through 36, 40, and 41 from the table. May I have a motion, please? So moved. I have a motion to remove those articles from the table. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, we have a special town meeting which was called for 7:15. So we're going to go right into the special town meeting. I will call the special town meeting to order. Again, we had articles that were put on the table because they were budget articles. I need a motion to remove those articles from the table. We'll let the FinCom do it. They have the numbers.
I make a motion to remove the articles that were put on the table, Articles 1, 3, 4, 6, 7, and 8 through 13 off the table.
Do I have a second? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, we have by lottery. The only articles that we, let me see, have to do, I believe articles number 3, 4, 8, and 13 all will have motions for indefinite postponement. So why don't we take those all in a lump, and then we will go to the lottery for the remaining articles. May I have a motion from the FinCom, please?
I move to indefinitely postpone Articles 3, 4, and 8 through 13.
Do I have a second? Is there anything to be said on the motion? Hearing nothing, we have before you a motion for indefinite postponement for Articles 3, 4, and 8 through 13. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, now we will go to the lottery for Articles 1, 6, and 7. And that was a unanimous vote. Number 7. Okay, this is a community preservation article. I have a motion on Article 7?
Yes, Sandy Slavin, Treasurer, CPC. I move to take off.
We have taken it off the table.
Why are we taking this off the table?
Oh, okay, you're right. No. We took all the articles off the table, Sandy, so we don't need that.
This has to stay on the table.
Right.
But we took them all off in one motion. We took them all off the table in the opening motion.
Okay.
So we only need the actual motion.
I move that the town vote to preserve for appropriation from a community preservation fund for FY11 estimated annual revenues the following sums. $50,000 for the acquisition, creation, and preservation of open space, excluding land for recreational use. B, $50,000 for the acquisition, preservation, rehabilitation, and restoration of historical resources. And C, $50,000 for the creation, preservation, and support of community housing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. To speak to the article?
Yes, CPC voted 7-0-0 in favor of this article. This is a housekeeping article. Each year, CPC must either spend or set aside funds for each of the 3 reserve accounts. Last year, we inadvertently spent from the reserve accounts and without actually setting aside the funds to do that. This is to correct that error.
Thank you. May I have the vote of the Board of Selectmen?
Madam Moderator, the Board of Selectmen voted favorable action 4-0-0.
Thank you. May I have the vote of the FinCom?
The Finance Committee voted favorable action 9-0-0.
Thank you. Is there anything further to be said on the article? Seeing no one else to stand to speak, we will now have a vote on Article 7. It requires a majority vote. And the motion before you is to reserve for appropriation from Community Preservation Fund FY11 estimated annual revenues as is on the screen before you. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? It passes unanimously. Article 6. May I have a motion? This again is a CPC article. Matt, there should be a complete,
Yeah.
there should be a complete motion on this one. I move that the town vote to transfer $10,000 as in the handout.
Thank you, Sandy Slavin, Treasurer, CPC. I move that the town vote to transfer $10,232.26 into the unallocated FY11 Community Preservation Fund account as follows, as on the screen.
It's exactly as printed on the screen before us?
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
To speak to the article?
Yes, this is just another housekeeping task. These projects have all been completed and signed off on, and these are funds that were not spent, and therefore we're asking that they be returned to our unallocated fund to be used for future projects.
May I have a vote of the Board of Selectmen?
Madam Moderator, the Board of Selectmen voted favorable action 4-0-0.
May I have a vote of the Finance Committee?
The Finance Committee voted favorable action 900.
Thank you. Is there anything further to be said on Article 6?
I'm sorry, the vote from CPC was 700 in favor.
Thank you. Seeing no one else, the vote will now come before you on Article 6. All those in favor of Article 6 as it appears on the screen before us, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? It passes by a majority. So the only one left would be Article 3. Article 1, I'm sorry. Article 1. May I have a motion?
That's good. I move that the town vote to adjust the budget as printed in the warrant.
May I have a second?
Second.
Do I have a second? Okay, to speak to the article?
Madam Moderator, through you to the body, this is a housekeeping item that adjusts through various accounts balances in fiscal 2011 in the amount of $212,860.45, and I would urge consideration by the body. Thank you.
May I have a vote of the Board of Selectmen?
Madam Moderator, the Board of Selectmen voted favorable action 400.
Thank you. May I have a vote of the Finance Committee?
The Finance Committee voted favorable action 520.
Thank you. Is there anything to be said on Article 1? Seeing no one and hearing nothing, we will now take a vote on Article 1 as printed in the warrant. This requires a majority vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Passes by a majority. I believe that completes all the action in the special town meeting. I will entertain a motion to dissolve the special town meeting. Have a second? Second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? We are back to the annual. Article 33. This is a community preservation article.
Angela Dunham, CPC.
Madam Moderator, point of information.
State your point.
Madam Moderator, when we opened the meeting, we voted to take Article 3 off of the table, and then we've taken no action on it, on the special warrant. We took action on 7, 6, and 1, but not on 3.
Article 3 was included in the original motion for indefinite postponement at the very first opening of the special. So it was included in part of all of those articles that were motioned for indefinite postponement. So
Thank you very much. I just wanted to clarify that action was taken.
Thank you. So Article 33. Okay, Mrs. Dunham, may I have your motion, please?
Do you have the text for it, Matt?
Mrs. Dunham?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
sorry. I was asking Matt to...
I'm sorry,
pull
I
up the text.
apologize. Just distracted here.
I'm sorry? Do you want me to read? Do you want to look at it? Madam Moderator, I'm going to have to read from the booklet.
Okay?
Okay, sorry. I have it. I move that the town appropriate from the Community Preservation Affordable Housing Reserve Fund the sum of $50,000 as a grant to South Shore Housing for general rehabilitation of apartments at the affordable housing complex known as the Depot Crossing Apartments located at 125 Minot Avenue, East Wareham, pursuant to a grant between the Board of Selectmen and South Shore Housing on such terms and conditions as the Board of Selectmen deem appropriate, which agreement shall include a provision requiring the grantee to provide to the town an affordable housing restriction in said property and further to authorize the Board of Selectmen to accept such restriction.
May I have a second? To speak to the article?
Madam Moderator, the proponent of this article is not a Wareham resident. I respectfully ask permission that a representative for South Shore Housing speak to this article.
Yes. You're asking permission for a non-resident?
A non-resident vote, yes.
Okay, I will put it before the body for a vote. All those in favor of allowing a representative from South Shore Housing to speak, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? No. The ayes have it.
Madam Moderator, I apologize. I'm being told that there is not a representative here this evening.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so someone to speak to the article from CPC?
My apologies.
I apologize to the body. Nancy Miller, CPC. It appears we had some miscommunication and they weren't notified to be here tonight. I will speak to this article. This is $50,000 towards an affordable housing restriction on Depot Crossing. We are giving this or approving this funding so that South Shore Housing, community builders, who is now their partner, can get tax credits and help come up with financing to rehab all of the properties at Depot Crossing. We had thought about this long and hard because normally we're not looking to rehab projects, we're looking to add to the town's inventory. However, this is going to protect this property in perpetuity because for their $50,000, which is a little more than $1,000 a unit, we will have these units affordable forever. But it's a quality of life issue, and you'll see the next CPC article for affordable housing is the same. We're helping out over at Agawam Village. And these folks are Wareham people that need help having decent housing to live in. We're all very lucky if we have a nice place to live, but sometimes folks that have to rent aren't quite so fortunate. So I would urge you to approve this. It will put an affordable housing restriction on Depot Crossing in perpetuity. It's a very small price to pay for keeping that in the town. Thank you.
May I have the vote of the Board of Selectmen?
I'm here.
Can you speak into the microphone?
My apologies. The Board of Selectmen voted favorable action 4-0-0.
May I have a vote of the FinCom?
The FinCom warrant is correct, the overhead is not. The FinCom voted 1-5-1. One in approval, 5 against, and 1 abstention.
Thank you. Is there anything to be said on Article 33? On my right.
Thank you. Bruce Savageau, Precinct 1. I just had a question, really. Nan, I'm not sure I understood what you said. Are these units going to be counted, or are they already counted towards the affordable housing stock under the DHCD guidelines?
Madam Moderator, through you to answer the question.
To answer the question?
Thank you. Yes, the buildings are already affordable in our inventory. However, that will run out and they can go to market value. We are guaranteeing for $50,000 in perpetuity.
Oh, so they're already.
On my left.
Madam Moderator, just a question, perhaps Nancy can answer it. South Shore Housing, what are we getting involved with them? The one lawsuit that we had with affordable units that got screwed up was South Shore Housing. Maybe we can get an explanation of actually what South Shore Housing is doing with this $50,000.
To answer the question only?
To answer the question, Madam Moderator, the previous speaker is correct. There was an issue where an affordable unit was sold at market value. South Shore Housing has now brought in community builders, which is recognized throughout the country as one of the best nonprofit affordable housing groups to help them maintain their properties and to see that all laws are followed. And I guess the only other thing to say is that South Shore did help the town recoup some of the money that was lost. The Housing Trust could speak to that better than I can, though.
Thank you. On my right.
Eddie Pasevich, Precinct 1. Just a question, who owns these buildings right now?
To answer the question?
Through you, Madam Moderator, to answer the question. I believe while South Shore still has title, Community Builders is now the owner of record. It's a joint partnership.
Thank you.
Okay, another question, please. It says the property is currently supported primarily by rental vouchers provided by the Wareham Housing Authority through the Massachusetts Rental Voucher Program. Is the state a part owner in this, or does the state have anything to do with this operation at all?
No.
To answer the question only?
I'm sorry, to answer the question, there are only 4 units, I believe, over there that the Housing Authority puts people into. The other 30-some units are Section 8 and are federally funded.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Selectman Schneider? One second, John.
Madam Moderator, through you to the body. Just a little clarification on South Shore Housing. South Shore Housing has been divesting most of its properties to other non-profits with more stability. If we don't do this, what could potentially happen is these units, we could lose the affordability on these units, because what's happening is the contract is expiring based on what I'm reading here. These units, the subsidy comes with the unit. It's a project rental assistance contract. It's not your typical portable voucher where someone can take the voucher with them. Oftentimes, these projects require a substantial rehabilitation, and I think that that's what we're seeing here. Community Builders is a recognized, reputable nonprofit throughout the country. They do great projects. This is money well worth investing in this project. This is only a small part of the investment. These are matching funds for probably a much an investment in probably a few $1 million. So I would urge the body to consider, favorable action on this proposal.
Thank you. On my right, I'm not sure if it was Mrs. Bronco, Dominic.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I would like you to defeat this article. The reason being, as you heard from the previous speakers, South Shore Housing have had problems with them before. We're not the only town that has had problems with them before. You know, why would we want to get in bed with any involvement with a company in which the town had to sue, they couldn't manage the sale of a property right in which the town was supposed to not, you know, get its money. Also, the other thing is South Shore Housing, and I will say I have had involvement, so I don't want anyone to say that, you know, I'm biased to the fact or anything. But also, if you go and you look at their spreadsheets, their administration fee is upwards over 25%. I mean, you know, you're talking about giving them money to do things, and they're supposed to be non-profit. Non-profit is where people can make money. When you're giving up 25% for administration fees, there's a lot of people making profits there. So as far as I'm concerned, I just don't think it's a great idea. It's a good thing. I just think the people we're getting in bed with is wrong. Thank you.
Mrs. Bronco.
I concur with the previous speaker, although I wouldn't have said it so elegantly. But South Shore Housing originally bought the place, did a major renovation on it. Now, in order to run this property, because they've let it go into the ground, they've hired 2 management companies. They have Hakeem is going to manage it for them, and they have community development involved that's going to do the capital. So please understand, South Shore still owns this property. Why would we do business with somebody we had to sue? It makes no sense. I urge everyone to defeat this.
Mr. Russell?
Urban Russell, Precinct 6. Affordable housing is a desperate need in this area and within this town. And we've been victim of all of the 40Bs because of that throughout this area. We've attempted to do something with Westfield and tried to confront some of the 40B. By negating this contract that we have with the South Shore or any affordable housing group within town is making ourselves more vulnerable. And yet we're displacing. If we fail to act on this, we're going to be displacing these families, these residents of Wareham. And why wouldn't we invest $50,000 to get an ironclad perpetual link to affordability and maintaining some housing within our community? I mean, it's ludicrous to even think of altering or not enjoining ourselves in this contract, which $50,000. South Shore has a couple of issues that were occurred in Wareham, but throughout their success, over 30 years of success of providing housing throughout Massachusetts I don't think we need to classify them as unreputable.
Thank you. Mr. Schneider, you've already had a chance to speak, so I'm going to go to someone who hasn't and then come back and give you additional time. On my right.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. While I do understand the concern about South Shore Housing, I have some experience with that situation, and you know, I will say that it was disconcerting that the way it turned out. But you know, a fair amount of that issue was our fault too. It was the town's fault as well for not managing and watching that issue. If we remove 50 units from our housing stock, affordable, we'll never catch up. This is a 40B issue, in my opinion, and the risk is that that possibly could happen. The management company itself is less of an issue than us losing ground by 50 more potential units. Westfield may not solve the 40B problem entirely, and if we lose ground by 50 units, it'll be irrelevant anyway. The 2010 census grew our housing stock, I believe, by an additional 1,578 units. That's another 157 units of affordable housing that we need to produce just to break even on that decade increase. So although I certainly respect those opinions, I also feel that the risk far outweighs those concerns. We just have to do a better job staying on top of that organization. I think that we have the people to do that.
Thank you. Selectman Schneider? What is it?
Madam Moderator, through to the body. I disagree completely with my colleagues on the Finance Committee. This is a good project. These are some of the most affordable units that exist in Wareham. People are paying 30% of 30% of median income for rent. Typical 40B, you're paying 30% of 80% of median. We need to keep these units in stock. Community Builders is a reputable company. That's why they're stepping to the plate in this particular instance. South Shore Housing, you know, they're going to be, maybe they'll remain the owner, but they won't have anything to do with management of the property. And, you know,
10 seconds.
I urge you to vote favorable action on this.
My left?
The lady over there was up first, Claire.
Oh, I'm sorry. On my right?
Dorothy Heath, Precinct 2. I actually have two questions. Number one, could I have a clarification of exactly how many units count to our affordable stock? We've said that Wareham only claims 4 of the units and that the rest are funded through the state. Do we get do we get to count all 50 for our affordable stock? And the second question is, are we going to get, I don't know what you call it, the piece of paper that guarantees it's affordable housing? This time, are we going to get that in place before they give them the $50,000? Or are we going to have it sitting out in Neverland like so many of the other contracts we had?
To answer the questions, if anybody chooses to.
Answer the question. Thank you very much. Nobody gets a penny from CPC until we have a contract. Nobody.
I mean,
and they will not get anything until we have the affordable housing restriction in place, filed at the Registry of Deeds, and secured. We now have the Housing Trust, who oversees all affordable housing properties in town. When Mr. Savageau was saying part of the problem was the towns as well as South Shores, that is correct. Nobody was watching the store, so to speak.
And do we get credit for all 50 units?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. I just wasn't sure because you said some of it was state funded.
No, state and federal, but we are allowed to put a restriction on this property in perpetuity. We are not on the state one for Agawam, but for this we are.
Okay.
Thank you.
May I speak?
Mm-hmm.
I just want to reiterate, I agree, South Shore is not perfect. Community Builders is about as close as you can get to perfect. But we're like dogs with a bone. We will not watch these properties. We will keep track of the money. We will know exactly where it's going. We will partner with CETA and with the Housing Trust. And I'm sorry, these guys are going to jump through hoops for $50,000. But they need that $50,000 in order to get the tax credits that the federal government will give them as part of a commitment from the town of Wareham for affordable housing. I would urge you, these are Wareham citizens that need help. And just because you don't have a lot of money, you shouldn't be forced to live in homes that are not what any one of us would want to live in. So please consider our neighbors. I know it's not perfect, but we're going to do the best we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Selectman Holmes?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Through you to the body and the members. I recall about 6 or 8 months ago being in a meeting with our town administrator with South Shore, and it's unfortunate that there was a communication issue. And to be honest with you, I don't remember all of the pieces of this component, but at the time, they were looking for about $100,000 from a previous administration. Correct, Mr. Andrews, through you, Madam Moderator. And, but that hadn't come before town meeting. When I look at this, and it's $50,000, I've sat in your seats and I've sat in this seat for just over a year, and I've voted and watched you vote $40,000 for affordable housing, 1 unit, $80,000 for affordable housing, 1 or 2 units. This is 50 units of affordable housing. If we don't, we're not hostage here, but if we don't cooperate for $50,000, these units will go to market rate. We're going to lose those 50 units out of our inventory. And look around town, we don't need to keep adding big developments. We have one here. If I remember, it was quality of life issues. Maybe Mr. Andrews, his memory, he can help us out here. I believe it was to deal with interior, I want to say refrigerators, appliances, things to deal with interior life for these folks. So I urge you to please vote favorable action on Article 33. We have the components in place in town to watch these issues and make sure the job is done right. But please don't be short-sighted and look the other way on this
10
one. This is a
seconds.
pretty good deal for $50,000. Thank you.
Thank you. Gentleman on my right.
Alan Slavin, 36 Oak Street, Wareham. I'm in favor of this article, but for clarification purposes, the article is printed at our first part of our town meeting says there's a total of 32 units, not 50 that keeps being mentioned.
Okay, on my right.
I'm Joyce Silverman. I live at 100 Pinehurst Drive. Before I moved to Wareham 13 years ago, I served on the board of the Fenway CDC, and I believe that the former head of the board of that particular program, which was a housing and development group in the Fenway of Boston, was Carl Copeland, who I believe is now the head of, has just assumed that job as head of South Shore. If I am correct, you've got a very wonderful person working on that. Perhaps there's a bad reputation that long precedes my activity in Wareham. I had never been aware of the difficulties that were alluded to tonight. But if there is a new head at that agency, we're very lucky to be able to work with him.
Okay, Mrs. Donahue?
I'd like to move the question.
Have a motion before us to move the question. I have a second. All those in favor of moving the question, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? No. The motion passes. We now have before you the motion, and I will read it. I move that the town appropriate from the Community Preservation Affordable Housing Reserve Fund the sum of $50,000 as a grant to South Shore Housing for general rehabilitation of apartments at the affordable housing complex known as the Depot Crossing Apartments, located at 125 Minot Avenue, East Wareham, pursuant to a grant between the Board of Selectmen and South Shore Housing on such terms and conditions as the Board of Selectmen deem appropriate, which agreement shall include a provision requiring the grantee to provide to the town an affordable housing restriction in said property. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? No. The article passes by a majority. Number 8. May I have a motion, please?
Madam Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate $150,000 to the stabilization fund.
Do I have a second? Anyone wish to speak to the article?
Madam Moderator, through you to the body, this is the second year in a row where we put an increased amount in the stabilization fund. Last year we put $100,000 aside this year, I'm recommending that we do $150,000. And I believe it's a way to bring the stabilization account back, given the extraordinary times that we're in, and I would ask for your favorable support. Thank you.
May I have the vote of the Board of Selectmen?
Madam Moderator, the Board of Selectmen on Article 8 was favorable action, 5-0-0.
May I have a vote of the FinCom?
The Finance Committee voted favorable action 7-0-0.
Thank you. Is there anything further to be said on Article 8? On my left.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Bill Heaney, Precinct 1. With this article, if approved, it would have an impact on the town's budget and the amount of available funds for other purposes. And I think that all of the articles that do have an impact on the town's budget should be reviewed after the budget's reviewed, however that comes up in the lottery. And so for that reason, Madam Moderator, I would move to amend the motion on Article 8 to table this article until such time as, I believe it's Article 6, the budget, is debated and finalized.
Do I have a second? Anything to be said to the amendment?
Madam Moderator, I just want to point out through you to the body that the Board of Selectmen passed on March 15th a policy by which we would set aside certain funds through the stabilization. I think that's good fiscal policy. I'm happy to debate the individual that's speaking on any point in the budget, but this is good fiscal policy that has been set, and I think as far as the administration is concerned, I believe we should follow it. Thank you.
Is there anything further to be said on the amendment? Are you coming down to speak to the amendment? No. Okay. We have amendment before us to table Article 8 until such time Article 6 is debated and finalized. Requires a majority vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? No. The article fails. We now go back, the amendment fails. We now go back to Article 8 as put before you. Anything to be said? I see Mrs. Donahue.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Through you to the body, I will urge favorable action on this article because the stabilization account is something that the Finance Committee has been recommending that we build for years. I know there are other questions, greater questions with the budget, but this is a long-term savings plan for the town. It's the way that we start to move ourselves into a more healthy fiscal situation. The Board of Selectmen started with a financial policy to say that we would build our stabilization account. And just as with your household budget, you may have heard the saying, pay yourself first. Whatever other numbers in the budget we may have to change, I feel very strongly that we put something aside and start building that stabilization fund now. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no others ready to speak, we will now take a vote on Article 8, which is to move that the town vote to raise and appropriate $150,000 to the stabilization fund. It requires a 2/3 vote. I would like to try for unanimous. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? No. It passes by a 2/3 vote. Article 23. May I have a motion on Article 23?
Nancy Miller, Cemetery Commissioner. I move that the town vote to transfer from the cemetery sales of lots and graves fund a sum of $15,000 to a special account for the routine care and maintenance of the town's cemeteries.
Do I have a second?
Second.
To speak to the article?
This is just housekeeping, and the funds are moved into an account that maintenance may use for the cemeteries.
Thank you. May I have the vote of the Board of Selectmen?
Madam Moderator, the vote of the Board of Selectmen was favorable action 400.
And may I have a vote and recommendation of the FinCom?
The FinCom's vote was favorable action 801.
Thank you. Is there anything further to be said on Article 23? If not, we will take a vote on Article 23 to move that the town vote to transfer from the cemetery sales of lots and graves fund a sum of $15,000 to a special account for the routine care and maintenance of town cemeteries. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Passes unanimously. Article 9.
I move to appropriate $6,230,000, $230,399 from the Water Pollution Control Enterprise Fund, salary and wages, $711,913. Expenditures includes debt of $5,518,486, in accordance with Chapter 44, Section 53F and a half of Massachusetts General Laws to defray the operating and capital expenses of the Water Pollution Control Enterprise Fund for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2011 and ending June 30th, 2012.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Someone to speak to the article?
Madam Moderator, through you to the body, this is the enterprise fund that we have been working very hard with regards to its overall expenditures, its operations, and I would like to ask the body to move favorable consideration of this matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further to be said on Article 9? On my left.
Margaret Ishihara, Precinct 3. I just had a question on the Finance Committee vote. It says favorable action 142, so I'm taking that 4 members of the Finance Committee were opposed to this article. I'm just wondering, is that still the case? And if so, what was the basis for the opposition?
Someone to answer the question if they choose to.
I can't speak for all of my colleagues, but at the time this came before us, we didn't have all of the information that we have here. So we were negatively disposed. Others might speak differently, but that was my reason.
Thank you. On my left.
Lynn Burrows, Precinct 5. What was the Board of Selectmen vote?
I'm sorry, did I miss that one?
Madam Moderator, the Board of Selectmen voted favorable action 400.
Thank you. There's nothing further to be said on Article 9. I will now call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Passes unanimously. Article 12. May I have a motion, please?
Madam Moderator, I move that the town vote to approve the revolving funds as printed in the warrant to allow the library to expend up to $30,000 for supplies, books, and utilities in its revolving fund.
May I have a second? To speak to the article?
Madam Moderator, through you to the body, this revolving account has been increased by $10,000 to fund increasing costs in heating and utility costs. I urge favorable consideration by the body. Thank you.
May I have a vote of the Board of Selectmen?
Madam Moderator, the vote of the Board of Selectmen was favorable action 400.
Thank you. May I have a vote of the Finance Committee?
Which article is it? 12? What is it, 12? What is it? Favorable action 700.
Thank you. Gentlemen, am I right?
Yeah, 80% precinct 1. I guess it's a point of information, but the article I'm looking at has a revolving funds for the COA, transport, library, social programs, social activities, recreation, recycling. There's a whole page of them.
That's correct. The motion is as in the warrant, with the exception of the library, to allow the library to expend up to $30,000 for supplies, books, and utilities.
Okay. So, all right. So you're changing just that one?
Just that
to
one.
30,000.
Correct.
Thank you.
Anything further? Hearing no other discussion, the vote will now come before you on Article 12 to move that the town vote to approve the revolving funds as printed in the warrant, but to allow the library to expend up to $30,000 for supplies, books, and utilities in its revolving fund. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Passes unanimously. 14.
Article 14, I move to see if the town will vote to pursuant to Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half of the general laws to authorize the use of a revolving fund for the purpose of special education tuition programs, supplies, equipment, wages, salaries, fringe benefits, and any related expenses, which shall be credited with receipts and under the authority and direction of the superintendent of schools, acting with the approval of the school committee. Such expenditures not to exceed $100,000 expended in the fiscal year 2012. And further, that the unencumbered balance as of the close of the fiscal year of 2011 in the existing special education revolving account be transferred to the revolving account established for the fiscal year 2012.
Do I have a second? I have a second. To speak to the article? No one wishes to speak to the article? Does the school wish to speak to the article? No? Okay. Anyone to speak to Article 14? On my left?
Do we have the selectmen's vote?
I'm sorry, yes. Vote of the selectmen?
Madam Moderator, the Board of Selectmen voted favorable action 500.
And the vote of the Finance Committee?
The Finance Committee voted favorable action 007 because we didn't have any information at the time.
Thank you. On my right.
Yes, Sandy Slavin, is it possible to find out why that amount was reduced from $307,000 in the article to $100,000 in the warrant?
Someone wish to answer the question?
Madam Moderator, through you to the body. There is a cap on the amount that we can have for our revolving accounts, and the recommendation, I don't mean to speak for the school committee. There is a cap on our revolving accounts that was exceeded by the earlier amount in the article itself, so that the motion to reduce it to $100,000 now falls below the cap. Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Thank you. Is there anything further to be said on Article 14? Hearing nothing, I will now call for the vote. All those in favor of Article 14 to see if the town will vote pursuant to Chapter 44, Section 53 and a half of the general laws to authorize the use of revolving fund for the purpose of special education tuition programs, supplies, as it appears on the screen before you. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Passes unanimously. Article 27. May I have a motion on Article 27?
Madam Moderator, I move to, that Article 27 be indefinitely postponed.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Anything to be said on Article 27? Hearing nothing, I will call for the vote of the Board of Selectmen.
The Board of Selectmen didn't vote because it was being withdrawn.
Thank you. And he said that there
The
was
Board
no
of
vote because
Selectmen
it was...
did not vote on this article because we were instructed that it was being withdrawn.
Vote of the FinCom?
The Finance Committee voted favorable action 7-1 before we were told that it would be withdrawn.
Thank you. Gentlemen, on my right?
Eddie Pasevich, Precinct 1. Just a question, why is it being withdrawn? It's a public safety issue.
To answer the question?
Madam Moderator, through you to the gentleman's point, this will be consolidated in a capital plan for the fall, so that the items listed here will be incorporated into that plan. Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Thank you. Anything further to be said on Article 27? Nothing further. I will now call for the vote on Article 27. All those in favor of indefinite postponement, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Passes unanimously. 36. Article 36, may I have a motion? I believe that's a community preservation on my left.
Yes, Anne Marie Brooks, Community Preservation. I move that the town appropriate from the Community Preservation Fund unallocated fund balance the sum of $200,000 and from Community Preservation Fund FYI 2012 estimated annual revenues the sum of $175,000 under the category of open space for the acquisition by gift, purchase, or otherwise for conservation, passive recreation purposes. The fee simple interest in the land described as Assessor's Map 75, lots 1004, 96 LLC owner and 1005 Eagle Holt Company owner. Excuse me. And a portion of lot 1003, 96 LLC owner, totaling plus or minus 27.5 acres, as seen on the map prepared by the Buzzards Bay National Estuary Program, 2870 Cranberry Highway, East Wareham, Mass., May 6, 2011, and related sketch plan of lot number 75003, as on file with the town clerk. And 2, a permanent conservation restriction on the land to be acquired by the Coalition for Buzzards Bay, Incorporated, described as Map 76, lots 1000A, 1000B, and 1000C, totaling plus or minus 4.5 acres, and to authorize the Board of Selectmen or Conservation Commission to acquire said properties, and further to authorize the Board of Selectmen to grant a nonprofit charitable corporation or foundation a perpetual conservation restriction meeting the requirements of GLC 44B, Section 12A in the land to be acquired under paragraph 1 in fee simple, and further to authorize the Conservation Commission
or Board of Selectmen to file on behalf of the town any and all applications deemed necessary for grants and/or reimbursements from state and federal programs, and to execute all such agreements as may be necessary on the part of the town to complete such acquisition and/or reimbursement, and to accept and expend any grant funds received for such purposes.
Do I have a second? Thank you. To speak to the article?
Madam Chairman, through you, I would like to turn this over to Jesse Ferrara, who is on the Wareham Land Trust.
Okay. Mr. Ferrara?
Good evening. I'm Jesse Ferrer, Wareham resident. I am proud to be presenting Article 36 to you tonight. Support of this article puts us one step closer to conserving 33 acres of land along the Wewiantic River, the largest river by volume in the Buzzards Bay watershed. 28 of these 33 acres will be owned by our town, and all 33 acres will be open to the public. With your support tonight, the Wareham Land Trust and Coalition for Buzzards Bay will go to work for our town by pursuing grant funding from our Commonwealth's Department of Energy and Environmental Affairs for open space protection. This is a competitive process, as many land trusts throughout the state will also be applying to add open space in their respective towns. This funding is available this year, but may not be in the future. We are confident that no project is more worthy or deserving than our own. Our Community Preservation Committee, Conservation Commission, Finance Committee, and Board of Selectmen are all supporting this article, and this project is also in accordance with the plan brought forth by our town's Open Space Committee. Now, if you trust me not to point in the eyes here, I have a laser pointer and a map. If you're not familiar with the project location, in fact, that's impossible to read, so maybe the next map might, not much help. At any rate, I'll use my laser pointer. Up here is Wareham Crossing Mall, 195. And this blue area here is, or its gray area, is Horseshoe Pond. What you see in orange, these three parcels that are outlined in red, are the parcels that, the 33 acres that we are asking for your support to protect as open space. This parcel here is the major parcel at 20 acres with, and I will try to point to it. It's kind of hard to hold this thing steady, pardon me. But the tip of that orange parcel on Blackmore Pond Road is, boy, that thing's shaking, I'm sorry. The tip of that parcel is for a parking lot. It's 180 feet of frontage. There is an existing trail system. There's high ground. It's very scenic and beautiful. Maybe one of the most accessible open space parcels that I've personally come across, in my opinion. To the bottom half on the right is a small, I'll point to it. This cluster here is connected to Wildlands Trust Land, Connet Hill, and further north at Horseshoe Pond Dam. It is proposed that the town hold a CR on this, as it's an easier, the Coalition of Buzzards Bay will own it. They have the resources and the staff to maintain and make that a management unit for them. And that's the only reason why the town doesn't own everything, was just for managing purposes. And maybe the next slide, Matt, please. So there were handouts at the entrance. I don't know if everybody got one, but this just describes our project here. And Anne Marie already cited the lots. The $375 from our Community Preservation Fund will be matched with a land grant from the state. Maybe the next slide. We like to use the word leverage. The town has an opportunity to, the CPC's committed 375, and the grant will ask for 360. They'll pay as much as 375, but 360 covers the 735 cost for all of this property. And acquisition of this property preserves the river and downstream water quality by preserving ecologically sensitive areas, provides excellent potential for passive outdoor recreation, hiking trails, and access to the river, adds to the riparian corridor greenway of conserved open space along the Weewantic River corridor. Now to the pictures. So this is the main trail heading off Blackmore Pond Road down to Horseshoe Pond Dam. Pretty well established. Here's a view. Thank you, Matt. Yep. Here's another view down at the water's edge. Great for a kayak or canoe launch into Horseshoe Pond. And then another view looking across towards the more northerly direction on Horseshoe Pond. Beautiful property, again, owned by the town, public access, and open space protection. Questions?
Well, before we get to questions, are you done with your presentation, Mr.
Yes.
Farrar?
Yes,
Can I have the vote of the Board of Selectmen?
Madam Moderator, the Board of Selectmen voted favorable action 400.
Thank you. May I have the vote of the FinCom?
The Finance Committee voted favorable action 540.
Thank you. Gentleman on my right.
Eddie Pasevich, Precinct 1. I'm chairman of the Clean Water Committee, and I'm also a member of the Weewantic Stream Team, which is part of the State Fish and Wildlife. I'm aware of some hazardous areas around Horseshoe Pond. None of those areas are included in the land that we're currently looking at to purchase. Just want to make that clear. They're on, as a matter of fact, on the total opposite end of the pond towards the dam. So we're looking at this side of the pond, and the hazardous waste areas are on the other side. So these, as far as I know, these areas are completely clean and do not have any problems with hazardous waste.
Thank you. On my right.
Dorothy Heath, Precinct 2. I have a couple questions. First, has the land been tested for hazardous waste? Secondly, we're saying we're going to use conservation anticipated revenue. What is the anticipated revenue? How much is it? How much of it are we using?
To answer the question?
I can answer one part of the question. There will be an environmental assessment done upon purchase before it's handed over to the town. And I'm going to let someone else speak to the second part of your question there.
Someone else wish to answer the second question?
There was a...
Can you speak into the microphone, please?
There's a report on Article 31 that would have given our financial status. If, Matt, you can bring up the last half of that.
Does that answer to his question?
Yes, it will answer the question. As the funds available at the bottom of this report.
Thank you.
Financial availability for FY11. Our expected revenue for FY12 is $702,000. And so we're looking at putting in, what was it, $175,000 out of that $702,000. To answer the question, we have the funds for this. And if you see that at the top, we have unallocated funds for $383,000, which we're asking $200,000 for this. So we have the funds available for this project.
Thank you.
I would urge the town to vote against this article and any article that uses CPC funds to buy any new land or to put any conservation on new land. Since we have yet to take care of the Tremont Nail Factory problem and problems of on land we have already bought, I don't think the amount of money we have in this fund will cover those problems. And until those problems are solved, I can't see us spending more money when we haven't solved the problems on the land we already own through CPC. And you know, you can keep spending money, and not have the money when the time comes and the town itself will have to cover the problems. Or you can set aside the money and take care of one problem and one piece of land before you get greedy and buy another piece.
Thank you. Is there anything further to be said on the question? Seeing no further discussion, we'll now call for the vote on Article 36 to see if the town will vote to appropriate from community preservation estimated annual revenues or any other monies in the Community Preservation Fund under the category of open space pursuant to the Community Preservation Act General Law, Chapter 44B, as is before you on the screen. This does require a 2/3 vote. I will try for unanimous. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? No. It passes by a 2/3 vote. Article 24.
I move that this Article 24 be indefinitely postponed.
No.
Do I have a second?
No. Article 24 is a cemetery article, and we're not asking that it be indefinitely postponed. We are asking that there be no action taken at this time.
It amounts to the same thing, Nan.
Okay.
It is exactly the same. The end result is the same.
Okay.
So I will accept the motion as indefinitely postponed and the second. To speak to the article?
Nancy Miller, Cemetery Commissioner. At the request of Municipal Maintenance Director and by a vote of the Cemetery Commissioners 200, we are asking that this not be acted on at this time until the cemetery account is corrected.
Thank you. Do I have a vote of the Board of Selectmen?
The vote of the Board of Selectmen was favorable action 400.
I have a vote of the Finance Committee.
The vote of the Finance Committee was favorable action 801.
Is there anything further to be said on Article 24? Hearing none, I will now call for the vote on Article 24 for indefinite postponement. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Passes unanimously. Article 15. May I have a motion, please?
I move that the town vote to transfer from the Onset Pier Parking Fund $30,000 to be used to defray the costs of federally mandated signage inventory for municipal maintenance.
Thank you. Do I have a second? I have a second. Speak to the article.
Madam Moderator, through you to the body, this is a federally mandated program that all cities and towns are grappling with, and working with Director Gifford, we recommend favorable consideration on this matter before you. Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Thank you. Anything to be said on my right?
Eddie Pesevich, Precinct 1. If my recollection is correct, I believe we passed a similar article in the fall for $30,000 from the Onset Pier Fund to be transferred to the municipal maintenance for signage. Now, if we just gave them $30,000 in the fall, they need another $30,000 in the spring. What, are we making signs for the whole state?
Is that a question?
That's the question. What happened to the $30,000 that we voted last fall?
To answer the question?
Yes, Madam Moderator, through you, to answer the question. I believe in the fall that the article was for 15.
Can you speak
I'm
into the
sorry.
microphone, please?
I believe in the fall the article was for 15,000. That money's went into the signed materials account. This is an altogether different article. This is a federal mandate to have an inventory done of all regulatory signs within the town of Wareham by January 2012.
Thank you, Mr. Gifford. Is there anything further to be said? Selectman Holmes?
Madam Moderator, thank you. A question to Mr. Gifford, through you to Mr. Gifford. So, Mr. Gifford, if I just caught you correctly, it's going to cost us $30,000 to take an inventory of how many signs we have. Is that what you just said?
That's correct. It's an inventory of the signs, the height, the size, the reflective material on the sign. It's quite a process.
Thank you. Anything further to be said? Am I right?
Madam Moderator, Alan Slavin. Just for clarification, the $30,000 that's for the Onset Pier Fund Parking Fund, is this money that is allocated to the town side share? Because part of the parking fund money goes obviously to the Community Events Committee.
To answer the question?
Through you, Madam Moderator, to the Speaker, yes, it is on the town side. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Moderator.
I think I'm having a real senior moment. I don't remember if I took the selectmen's vote or the FinCom vote, if I asked for it. Can we take it again just to be certain? May I have the vote of the Board of Selectmen?
Madam Moderator, the Board of Selectmen voted favorable action 4-0-0.
Thank you. May I have the vote of the FinCom?
The FinCom voted favorable action 7-0-0.
Thank you. Guess I have to do a cheat sheet note for myself. Am I right?
Point of question, clarification.
May I have your name,
Martha
please?
Strawn, clarification, precinct 3. Is this the same fund where we fund bicycle policemen in the Onset Pier Fund? Is it the same fund? The 30,000 is coming out of?
To answer the question, I believe not, but I'll let Mr. Andrews.
Madam Moderator, to you, no, it's not.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything further to be said on Article 15? No? No. Hearing no other discussion, I will now take a vote on Article 15. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? No. Passes by a majority. Article 6.
Madam Moderator,
Can I have a motion, please?
I make a motion on Article 6. I move to postpone Article 6 until a date in June to be determined.
Mrs. Braun, I think it may be more appropriate to table until a date certain, and I believe we have reserved next Tuesday. We do have the hall. After that, we get into graduation. I don't know. I mean, we would need to come up with a date certain.
We can't accomplish what needs to be done by the 23rd or the 1st. We feel it necessary to, there are a lot of things that are not resolved in this budget, and it's a very serious budget to the taxpayer, so we don't know what date that it's available, and you know, we would like to postpone it until that point.
We need to come up with a date.
How about the superintendent? Can he help us?
Well, we have to be sure that moi is going to be here because I may be off on vacation, but, so we need to look at a date. If we could just have the indulgence for just a minute, please, to see if we can work out a date. The people that have to be here at town meeting, the moderator or deputy moderator and the clerk, you the voters. So we need to make sure that we have those of us here. Okay. June 8th, not available. We have a
Point of order, Madam Chairman.
Just bear with us for 1 second. We've come up with June 14th.
Was there a vote by the majority, by the body, to postpone?
We haven't gotten there yet.
Okay.
We're trying to come up with a date. Before we can take a vote, we need to come up with a date certain.
June 14th?
June 14th at 7 o'clock p.m. here in the auditorium?
Yes.
Okay, so what I would like you to do is to make a motion to table Article 6 to June 14th at 7 p.m. in the auditorium.
I move to...
I think, Dr. Rabinovich, graduation should all be over.
Middle school graduation.
So this probably is available. Okay, so June 14th looks like it should be a good date.
Okay, I move to table Article 6 until June 14th at 7 o'clock in the high school auditorium at 7 o'clock.
Okay, do I have a second? Okay, for discussion. On my right.
Eddie Pasevich, Precinct 1. A question. Since this is the town administrator's budget, is the town administrator ready to go forward today, or is the town administrator in favor of a postponement?
Madam Moderator, to you, to the gentleman, I'm ready to go tonight. I will defer to the Finance Committee if they would like to have additional time. I just note that June 30th, we need to have some budget in place, and whatever issues need to be resolved, I'm pledged to do that with the Finance Committee and my Board of Selectmen. Thank you.
On my right. On my left.
Lynn Burrows, Precinct 5. That sounds like a familiar date, I'm not sure, but I'm wondering about the middle school graduation.
Well, that won't impact us here.
Is that the 16th?
Okay.
I
Dr.
just want to
Rabinovich,
confirm that. That's all.
to answer the question.
Yes, to answer the question, we have an event that evening. It's the middle school move-up. Parents are invited here to the high school for orientation, but I'm sure we can ask them to move to the cafeteria so the town meeting can have the auditorium.
Thank you. On my right, or I'm sorry, were you?
No,
something else?
actually, I'd like to ask for a different date then, because I'm one of those parents, and that'll exclude me from participating in the town meeting. Do I need to make an amendment, or ask, actually, I would ask that the motion
Well,
is
we can't make
withdrawn.
an amendment to the amendment, so we would have to act on the FinCom's motion and then vote that down and then make an amendment to the 15th unless the FinCom would like to withdraw their motion and second and remake their motion to the 15th.
Right
Mrs.
now,
Bart?
what we're looking at right now is the 14th is pretty much the only date that we're going to be available here.
Okay.
And
so-
everyone else is available, and you know.
Okay, so your motion stands on the 14th. Council can't be here on the 13th. On my right.
Jane
Were you
Donahue.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Burrows?
No, just in regard to that, then I'd just like to ask people to vote against it in the interest of providing opportunity for voters to get here. It's hard enough getting people, as we can all see tonight, down here to the meeting, and I would ask that you don't exclude those of us who can make it here and there.
Okay, on my right.
Madam Moderator, through you to the body, Jane Donahue, Precinct 3. We're here tonight. We've been talking about the budget since December, to my knowledge. If I recall correctly, the budget was first put forth December 15th. There have been many, many meetings. I know that there have been some changes and some adjustments, and there have been some agreements made. We're all here this evening. I can't possibly see what would happen in the next 3 weeks that's going to change the town administrator's recommendations. I think we should vote this evening. I urge you to defeat the amendment. Thank you. Also, I think the 14th it's a bad night. You're going to have people here for lots of things, and we already have complaints about parking, and I mean, the further you get to summer, look at it. How many of us are here tonight? 160 people to vote on the budget for the entire town? I think we should move forward this evening. Thank you.
On my left.
Madam Moderator, Cliff Sylvia, Precinct 1. I'm just curious. I don't want to act hastily, and certainly I want to vote on the budget from a totally informed perspective. However, I was under the impression that we did have an ad hoc, broad-based committee that reached agreement on this budget. I would like to know specifically, so that I can make an informed decision, and also the other voters in the hall, an informed decision on this amendment, what specifically is missing, or what are the problems with this budget that will require the additional 2 weeks?
To answer the question, if someone cares to.
I'd be happy to answer that.
Mrs. Frank, to answer the question only?
Yes. Basically, the reason we're asking for the 2 weeks is because we didn't get numbers till May 13th. A completed budget. Yes, we got worksheets that were incorrect, weren't added correctly, and there was just a number of problems that we faced. We also, through the ad hoc group, we decided to come together with an agreement. We had a couple of meetings, and we never had another meeting that I'm aware of, did we? You were on the ad hoc meeting? Did you, Frank? No, so we didn't get, the ad hoc committee didn't really work out all this. We were told that an agreement was going to be made between the school department and the administration. We haven't seen a signed document to that effect. This is a huge, huge problem this year, and we want to make sure, I mean, we're the watchdogs that you people count on. We don't want you to vote on something that we're not entirely sure that you're going to be voting on. We want you to be clear and concise and informative. And that's why we came to 100% agreement 2 minutes before tonight, this meeting, because we didn't have what we were supposed to have.
Thank you.
Matt, could I just add one thing? Do I still have some time?
You still have some time.
So I am correct in my assumption that no agreement was reached by the ad hoc, or that the Finance Committee did not know of any agreement reached by the ad hoc?
To answer the question only.
To answer the gentleman's question, there was a presentation made to the ad hoc committee. We came to pretty much a general conclusion based on what Dr. Rabinovich proposed at the time and at what Mr. Andrews proposed at the time, that we had an agreement, that there was an agreement that had been worked out. The question was to come up with the final details. That agreement included the use of the healthcare trust fund. That had to be approved by the three bodies that were involved in the ad hoc: the FinCom, the school committee, and the Board of Selectmen. The school committee approved. They thought it was the right way to go. FinCom initially said, yes, we approved as well. We were informed about 5 minutes before this meeting that the Board of Selectmen did not support that move. At that point, we were faced with the situation of what do we do next? The only thing we could do was to try to postpone it till something could be worked out, till we could sit down and talk to the Board of Selectmen and find out what's happening. So, yeah, for the second time, we've been blindsided.
Sounds to me like a lack of communication, Madam Moderator.
On my right.
Alan Slavin, 36 Oak Street.
Yes, Mr. Slavin?
Thank you for understanding. I just had a senior moment, sorry.
Welcome to the club.
It's getting there. I'm sorry, June 14th, just for information for the body, I believe the Planning Board and the Zoning Board have a joint meeting on the Walmart issue, which does usually get a fairly large crowd from the town here, and that could be a problem because that is a major piece on the town going on right now as well. Sorry about that.
I believe Selectman Begley.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I would urge everyone here to defeat this amendment. We have postponed this budget. We've had a report and had certified figures from Powers and Sullivan. Mr. Andrews has indicated that he's ready to go forward with this budget. So I would urge you to defeat this amendment and let's get the business done for this town.
Thank you. On my left.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Bill Heaney, Precinct 1. I urge you to support this amendment. It is very strange when the Finance Committee comes to this body and says, we're not ready. And I, for one, am more concerned about the Finance Committee's position on this budget than I am with the town administrator's position on this budget. I, for one, think the value of the Finance Committee is to provide information to this town, this body, so that this body can make an informed decision on the budget. And for that reason, ladies and gentlemen, I urge you to support your Finance Committee and approve this amendment such that this is postponed until that committee is comfortable with this budget. Thank you.
Thank you. On my right.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. While I certainly can respect, Bruce Savageau, Precinct 1, while I certainly can respect that opinion, the only agreement that's relevant, that counts, is this body's agreement. I'm not interested in ad hoc committees or sidebar discussions with the school committee or any other committee. This is the body that decides the budget based on, and it's not the FinCom's budget or the Board of Selectmen's budget, it's the town administrator's budget. And if he stands ready to present his budget and defend it, then we should be prepared to listen and support the town administrator in this effort. If the FinCom is unprepared, so be it. I've been in that situation, and I can certainly empathize, but that's not what is important here. What is important is we have the opportunity to be, and we are here ready. We showed up. We did our part. We're all anxious to discuss the matter. We should do it tonight.
Thank you. On my left.
John Deacon, District 3. I would remind this this meeting that if we do not act tonight, if we act tonight without the recommendation of the Finance Committee, it will be the first time that that's happened in the history of this town. Is that what we really want? Do we really want to eliminate one of the most important check and balances that we have in our system? It just seems to me that since the previous speaker talked about the town administrator and what he's done, what has he done? We haven't had an orderly system in this town.
Mr. Deacon, stick to the motion before us. Thank you.
We've had several meetings postponed because he hasn't properly prepared this town for this town meeting. And we come ill-prepared.
Mr. Deacon, please speak to the reason why we should postpone without personal attacks. Thank you.
I don't think that we should take away the benefit that we get by having the appropriate check and balances followed as they have in the history of this community by the Finance Committee. If we do that, we're simply handing over total control to the town administrator. I can't believe that the selectmen go along with this. I can't believe that the selectmen would discard the benefit and the use and the wisdom that we get from the Finance Committee. And those of us who come in here not totally prepared and understanding all the issues depend heavily on the Finance Committee. You do away with that, you might as well do away with the Finance Committee. You might as well do away with town meeting, as far as I'm concerned. I would like to ask for a quorum count.
We have a request for a quorum count. Would the tellers please come forward? Would you please count the quorum? Please hold your cards up. We're taking a vote on the quorum count to see how many voters are in the hall. Please raise your cards up so that you may be counted so we know how many voters are in the hall.
You hold yours up. Don't let it go. That's all right.
Yeah, I tell them put the phones down. Look at it. You know, they don't pay attention.
Well, we can act on other articles. No, but we have the motion. Section 1.
37.
Section 137. Section 2.
33.
Section 233. Section 3.
75.
Section 375. Section 4.
30. 30.
3030.
I want to ask her how many votes.
We have 175 voters in the hallway. In the hall, we have a quorum.
Everybody's spoken.
And we can act on articles, budgetary numbers over 5,000. I believe, yes, we can. We only need a quorum of 150 to act on budget articles exceeding $5,000. So we have 175 people in the hall. We have the needed quorum to move ahead. So we're back to the motion before, the amendment before us to table the budget article to June 14th at 7 p.m. I think Selectman Snyder was up. Well, actually, I think Mrs. Slavin was up, and then Selectman Snyder.
Yes, I have a question. If we wait until June 14th and we do not get a quorum, what do we do with the start of FY12 without a budget? Then I want to talk. Just a question. No quorum on the 14th. What do we do then?
Then we adjourn till whatever next night, or we get on the phone and we call people to get here so that we do have a quorum.
So I urge that we defeat this motion and discuss this Article 6 as we have a quorum now to cover our FY12 budget. Thank you.
Selectman Schneider.
Madam Moderator, through you to the body. The only blindsiding that occurred here was from the Finance Committee, who held the town administrator at bay until today because they wanted to have 3 adjustments to the budget. So they withheld favorable action vote. Ladies and gentlemen, the Board of Selectmen voted against the document that was submitted to us, not because of the contents of the document, but because of the language. We asked specifically for an agreement. What we hadn't put in front of us today was a memorandum of agreement, which is very similar to a memorandum of understanding. We voted that way, and we wanted you to have the opportunity to vote on this budget tonight. I would urge you to move forward and not let the FinCom delay this vote on this budget any longer.
Gentleman on my right.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Bob Russo, Precinct 2. I have a couple of questions. Number one, are we scheduled to meet tomorrow evening in town meeting?
Yes. Well, depending on what the body chooses to do. The hall is available both tomorrow night and Wednesday night.
So tomorrow night and Wednesday night.
Correct.
My second question, through you to the chairman of the Finance Committee. Is it possible for the Finance Committee to sit down and do what they have to do tomorrow with the appropriate people to come together with a recommendation to this town meeting either tomorrow evening or Wednesday evening on Article 6, the town budget?
To answer the question?
Mr. Brusso, we will do our very best to do that. I mean, we don't want to keep coming back here, and the last thing we want to do is continue this thing. We just want to deliver the right information to the public.
I guess so. I think a lot of people can vote on this intelligently. If we postpone this article, I would like an assurance, and my question to you is that, can the Finance Committee come before this town meeting either tomorrow evening or Wednesday evening, if we have postponements, with a recommendation on Article 6 on the budget? Because I'm getting very concerned that we're going to move forward to June 14th, and there are going to be a lot of things getting in the face of this, that we will not have a budget for the town come July 1st, and then things begin to shut down. We need a recommendation, and I've always respected the Finance Committee and the hard work they have done over the years in preparing this budget, and I want to hear from them. And if they can assure me that they're ready, they'd be prepared either tomorrow evening or Wednesday evening to present a recommendation on Article 6, that I'm willing to postpone this article, but not until June 14th. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe Mr. Heath was next.
Yes, Madam Chairman. I would like to talk about the Finance Committee's situation that came up on Wednesday night at our meeting in consideration of the budget. At the last town meeting, we voted a meals tax. Last Wednesday night, suddenly that meals tax, we found out, wouldn't be available to us this year. And it was appropriated to operating expense. We did not expect that. We thought that the meals tax would be used for capital assets. So we immediately held up a bit. We have some amendments that we wish to put in because also we found that appropriations had been increased. And sure enough, they matched the meals tax increase. So that was one of our hesitations. Another one of our hesitations is we questioned some of the funds that were available out of sources such as the cemetery. Well, lo and behold, tonight, you just said, nope, you can't have that money. So I'll tell you, as we stand here right now, we're out of balance. We also talked about, in great detail, what had to be done to cover the school budget. There was a lot of consensus that we are in a very serious survival position. Up until tonight, we thought we had a solution. The FinCom was ready to vote to approve this budget. And all of a sudden we were informed that there was no agreement, that $1.5 million was being proposed to be cut out of the revenue source. This was brought to us by the town administrator. I will tell you right now, the FinCom will stand behind the town administrator on this issue as a majority. We had spent many, many hours going through this budget.
10 seconds.
I would urge you to postpone until we have a chance to get one last look at this and try to make sure that all the parties have been heard.
Thank you. On my right.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I'm a little bit disturbed that, first of all, that the Finance Committee would make the suggestion that they will do everything in their power to meet tomorrow to do this, which would be a violation of the open meeting law. I don't believe they've had a meeting posted 48 hours in advance for that meeting tomorrow. My concern is that if they had problems with this last Wednesday, why didn't they have 1 or 2 meetings scheduled before then, which could have been posted, so that maybe this could have been gotten to the bottom of. And as some people in this room may remember, several years ago, there was a discrepancy between the town administrator's budget and the Finance Committee budget. The way the charter is worded is that it is the town administrator's budget that is presented as it's subject to any amendments that may be made by the Finance Committee. So therefore, we should have a budget. We should work on that budget, and the Finance Committee should be prepared to make amendments on that. So I ask you to please vote down the extension of this for 3 weeks. We're cutting ourselves 2 weeks before the end of the fiscal year. If anything, as previous speakers said, if anything goes wrong, then we could see ourselves in a lot of trouble and seeing this town come to a halt on July 1st. So let's put this through, vote on it, move forward, and we always have, if there's any discrepancies or even if there's something that when we find out it's wrong or something, we can always go back. That's part of what fall town meeting is for, is to make your adjustments in the budget that were unknown in the April town meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schneider. You've already had some time. Mrs. Bronk has had some time. Mr. Haney has had some time. I'm going to give to the gentleman behind you who has not had a chance, and then I will come back and let you use your remaining time. On my left.
Larry McDonald, Precinct 6. I want to go back to, just first off, I want some information. Mr. Heath up there said that, I believe, I understand correctly, they're going to cut $1.5 million out of the budget. I just want to make sure that's what he said, that there was an effort to cut that out of the budget.
To answer the question,
one of the ways that we were going to handle the expenditures, the revenue source was going to be the healthcare trust. There was going to be a declaration of a holiday, and that would reduce our health care costs from some 5.5 to like almost, I think it was 5.5 to 4 million. Okay. All right. If we don't do that, then we have a 5.5 health care trust number, and we're out of balance by $1.5 million.
Okay, and that's, I guess what I'm getting at is that was what you understand that was going to happen tonight?
That was not our understanding.
No,
We thought that all that was going to have to be settled tonight was that there were 3 numbers that we had asked to adjust based on what we saw on Friday. All right, those basically had to do with some appropriations, which were about 50% of the 321 meals tax.
Okay, well, I would urge you to support the amendment, because if we're going to cut that much money out of our budget, or someone's going to attempt to do that, then it's certainly going to put somebody out of balance, and it's probably going to be the school. And I have a child in school, and I don't want this to happen. So I would give the FinCom, who are people that live in this town, that work hard to put together the numbers, I would give them the opportunity to go over this and get this right.
Okay, Mrs. Winslow, you have not had the opportunity to speak. I'll go to you.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Through you to the previous speakers, the Board of Selectmen did not cut $1.5 million out of the budget. The Board of Selectmen simply voted to not support the proposed healthcare premium holiday, which would result in the $1.5 million that is in the town administrator's proposed budget. It is ultimately up to you as a body if you choose to fund the budget by not putting money into the healthcare trust fund for a period of time. Thank you.
Okay, I think Mr. Schneider, Selectman Schneider was standing. He's out. Okay, you've all had time. Mrs. Brunk.
We only got the budget with the meals tax included in it Wednesday. We met very late into the evening. We have been working with the town administrator. We were waiting. We didn't get the motions until we walked in here tonight. If we had the information and we could have met and we could have come up with an agreement, we thought we had an agreement. If you want to go forward without complete information, that's fine. We're just telling you that in our opinion, it would not serve the town's best interest.
Okay, Mr. Haney.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I'd like to take a moment and just read from the charter the Finance Committee's responsibility in the budget.
Yes, speak to the.
Well, this does speak to the motion because it supports the motion to postpone action on the budget until a later date. And what it says in section 5.6, action on proposed budget, presentation to town meeting. The Finance Committee shall file a report containing its recommendations for action on the proposed budget, which shall be available not less than 7 days prior to the date on which town meeting is to act on the proposed budget. When the proposed budget is before the town meeting for action, it shall first be subject to amendments, if any, and be proposed to it by the Finance Committee. Ladies and gentlemen, the Finance Committee is asking to have time to file its report. The charter gives them the right to do that. If we don't support the Finance Committee on this, we might as well just do away with it.
Thank you. I think there's a gentleman behind Mrs. Donahue that has not had the opportunity to speak.
I don't know. Joseph Volker in Precinct 2. I'd like to make a motion to bring this up for consideration right now.
We have a motion on the floor to table.
Yeah.
To table this to June 14th, so we need to act on that one first.
I'm sorry. Can I move the question, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
We have a motion before us to move the question. Have a second. All those in favor of moving the question, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The vote will not, it passes by unanimous vote. We have the motion before us to table Article 6 to June 14th at 7:00 p.m. So the vote now will come on the amendment to table Article 6 to June 14th at 7 p.m. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? No. The amendment is lost. We will now go back to Article 6. So now I need an amendment on Article 6. A motion.
Madam Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $31,552 and transfer $14,479,127 from cherry sheet aid and offsets, and transfer $5,452,563 from estimated local receipts and reimbursements, and transfer $182,600 from available funds, and transfer $152,000 from receipts reserved for appropriation, sale of real estate, to debt and interest, and to provide for a reserve fund for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2011, and ending June 30th, 2012, and is more particularly described in the budgeting handout of line items.
Do I hear a second? Second. Okay. We have a vote by the Board of Selectmen.
Madam Moderator, the Board of Selectmen voted favorable action 3-0.
And the vote of the FinCom?
The Finance Committee voted favorable action 1-5-1.
Okay, what we're going to do is go through the budget line by line item. And if you have a question on any particular line item.
Madam Moderator, point of order.
State your point.
Which budget are we looking at? The one printed in the previous warrant, or the one that was handed out, the one that was on the table? Because there's two different budgets with two different numbers.
The budget that we're discussing is the budget that was on the table outside, which is the motion before you.
Okay.
It says Town of Wareham Operating Budget 2012.
The one that was out there tonight?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, property taxes and other real estate taxes. Intergovernmental transfers. These are all revenues. Estimated local receipts and reimbursements. Available funds. Now we'll go to the expenses. Town meeting.
Point of order.
State your point.
Madam Moderator, could you start and tell us where we are exactly, on what page or what line?
Okay, we're on page 3 of page 9, under expenses. And we're going to be looking at the column that is in bold, current proposed FY12 budget.
What?
Be the 6th column across. It has the line around it. So page 3, expenses.
Point of order, Madam Chairman.
State your point.
There was some confusion. One of the available funds should be a hold because one of the numbers in there tonight was not allowed.
I'm sorry, want to state that again, Mr.
We
Heath?
passed an article that did not allow the $15,000 of the cemetery, one of the two 15s. It was zeroed out. So the 182,600 is an incorrect amount. That amount should read 167,600. So I will place a hold on it.
So that's on page 2.
2.
And it would be
I believe it was Article...
cemetery.
Article 24 was not passed.
Okay, so cemetery perpetual care interest?
Correct.
Okay, so we're going to hold that one. Okay, so now we're on page 3, town meetings wages, town meetings expenses, selectmen's wages.
Point of order, Madam Moderator.
State your point.
If we have a general comment or question on the budget, what would be the appropriate place to ask that?
We'll go through and do the holds, and then we'll come back to general comments before we get into the specifics of the holds.
Very good, thank you.
Okay. Selectmen's wages, selectmen's expenses, town administrator wages, town administrator expenses, finance committee, reserve fund, town accountant wages, town accountant expenses, audit, assessors wages, assessors expenses,
Hold.
revaluation expense, treasurer wages, treasurer expenses, general services wages, general services expenses, legal services,
Hold.
personnel services expenses, personnel board. This is on page 4. Information management technology wages, informational management technology expenses, information management technology communications, town clerk wages, town clerk expenses, elections and registrations wages, elections and registration expenses, Conservation Commission, town planning wages, town planning expenses, planning board expenses, Board of Appeals, sick leave bonus wages, police wages, police expenses, police special articles, which is 0, inspectional services wages, inspectional services expenses, animal control wages. Did I hear a hold? Animal control expenses. Was there a hold on expenses? No, okay. Shellfish harbor master wages, shellfish harbor master expenses, beaches and lifeguard wages, beaches and lifeguards expenses, municipal maintenance in public buildings wages, municipal maintenance in public buildings expenses, municipal maintenance special articles, snow and ice wages, snow and ice expenses, street lights general, recycling wages, recycling expenses, Board of Health wages, Board of Health expenses, Council on Aging wages, Council on Aging expenses, Veteran Services expenses, Commission on Disabilities, page 6, library wages, library expenses, beaches and lifeguards wages, beaches and lifeguards expenses, Historical District Commission, Historical Committee, on page 7, education, net school spending, non-net school spending, edu-jobs funding, debt principal, debt interest short-term, middle school debt, community health services, revenue deficits, Regional landfills. Serpent, hold on regional landfill, did I hear? Okay. Serpent assessment. Under employee benefits, retirement contribution, including LIUNA, workman's compensation, town insurance general liability, unemployment, medical insurance, life insurance, FICA. Under offsets, county and state assessments, other cherry sheet offsets, revenue deficits, snow and ice, teachers' pay deferral, 99-02 overlay. On page 8, we haven't acted on these. Yeah, we don't need to do these. We haven't acted on the other budget articles. Yeah, the rest will kick in as we do each article. Same, we did the enterprise fund on page 9. How about the offset? On page 9, the offsets, do we need those kick in? Okay, we never vote those. Okay. Emergency medical. On page, what was it? On page 9. The last line on page 9. Emergency management services, wages, emergency management expenses. No hold, okay. Okay. Okay, we're going to go back and take a vote on everything that we have not held. Okay?
I have
Gentleman
pointed
on my left.
information.
On my left?
Okay.
Yes.
What would happen if we pass this budget and some of these articles like police cruisers or what have you doesn't get passed? The money's been
Can
appropriated.
you state your name, please?
Excuse me?
State your name, please. Your name.
Oh, I'm sorry, Stanley Andrews, Cranberry Highway.
Thank you.
But the money's been appropriated with the budget, but yet the article gets defeated. How do we handle that?
Someone to answer the question? I believe we would have an excess of revenue. On my left.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Could we put a hold on medical, please?
On page, the last one on page?
On page 7. Third from the bottom of employee benefits where it says medical insurance.
And so that's on page 7, Mr. Haney?
Yes. At least it's on page 7 of the one
okay.
that was outside.
Okay, medical insurance? You
Yep.
want to hold that one? Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Okay, we're going to go back and take a vote on all of the line items that we did not have a hold on. Just a minute. State your point.
Yes, Irvin Russell, Precinct 6. I would also like to include council on aging salaries.
On what page?
Page 5.
Page 5. Council on Aging wages?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Paulson, what do you rise?
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Moderator. Dick Paulson, Precinct 3. I don't know how to characterize this, but it seems to me we may be putting the cart before the horse here if we vote on everything that hasn't been put on hold and then later go to the items that are held, and then we may find that on some of those we are going to change the amount that's in the budget and then have to go back to the items that are held. At least that's my concern. So I'm asking the question as to why we're going to move forward on using the methodology that's been suggested. Thank you.
That's traditionally how we have always done it for as long as I have come to town meeting. I can't answer your question specifically, but historically that's the way it has always been done. Okay, so we're going to take a vote on all of the articles.
Point of order.
State your point.
Madam Moderator, with all due respect, I think that Mr. Paulson has a very salient point, and he'll like that because we don't often agree. But on this particular point, I have to agree with him because if we would traditionally, we have gone over all of the holds, made our amendments, and then voted on the budget as a whole. I think that there just may be a little confusion here about how to proceed, and I think that we should discuss the holds, make our amendments as appropriate, and then vote on a balanced budget. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense. Thank you.
Okay, as I said, for as long as I have been coming, and I think the clerk concurs with me, that's the way that we've always done it, but I will put it to the vote of the body. All those in favor of not taking a vote on the articles that we have not held, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? No. Okay, so we will not take a vote on the budget, and we will go through the line items and then take a vote on the entire budget. Okay, so that we understand, we will entertain questions generically on the budget as overall. I believe Mrs. Shahara had a question. Then we'll come back and we'll do the line items. So is there any general questions to the budget, not specific to a line item? Mrs. Shahara.
I just wanted to come back a bit to the health insurance trust fund issue. I didn't see anywhere in, I could be missing it, so you can point out where it is, anywhere in the handout that we have on the budget relative to revenues or anywhere in the motion itself where that fund is referenced. Is it or is it not? And if so, in what number is it included?
To answer her question?
There was a separate handout that refers to the health care holiday.
I think Selectman Winslow was going to answer it, Marilyn. Do you want to answer it, Kat?
Point of order, Madam Moderator.
Just a second. I recognize Kara to answer the question, but we have a point of order.
My point of order, Madam Moderator, through you to the body, is that perhaps it would be helpful if the town administrator were to present his budget prior to us discussing all of the amendments and the holds, so that we would have an understanding of how this budget was put together and what the conclusion was. I think it might be helpful.
Thank you. And I agree. Mr. Shahara, do you mind just holding that question, and we'll let the town administrator present his budget?
Thank you.
Apologize, Mark.
Matt? Madam Moderator, thank you for the opportunity to present this budget and this overview, if you will, and I'm happy to answer it.
Can't hear you.
Thank you for the opportunity, Madam Moderator, to you, to the body, to present this overview of the budget, including the healthcare holiday program that's being recommended by myself. And, Matt, if we could, this is the overview. We begin with the revenue budget, so 90+% of what we're dealing with on the revenue side has been pretty much structured. I left out front what is called the cherry sheet, although it wasn't on colored paper, but you would have found it out there. It's a CS1 sheet that indicates that the state revenue through local aid and other state programs is pretty much a certainty at this point in time, which is a rarity with regards to the state budget process. And it went something like this. The House of Representatives passed their budget on April 27th with regards to local aid for cities and towns. The Senate, shortly thereafter, on April 14, passed a resolution saying that cities and towns would not get anything less than was in the House budget. So we began the revenue side of building the budget from that standpoint to indicate that we have revenues, I believe, the front part of your budget that indicate that they will not change. At least they won't go south of what we have in the budget. And to the gentleman's point earlier, if there are additional revenues or areas where additional aid comes through, then that in fact would be decided by a body in November to decide how we would move forward with the use of those revenues. And we took a very conservative approach. The Budget Review Committee began with an agreement starting out to close a gap of $2,857,576. And you can see that $1.7 million, just a little bit higher than that, $1,700,619 came, if you will, from the school side. I'll talk about how that worked in a couple minutes. And the town itself came up with $1,158,957, or 40% of the solution to this issue. We intentionally budgeted below our revenue picture projections at the local level. Even though our building permits are up, a lot of our local fees are up, we decided to go 2% below what would be the projection to be absolutely very safe, to come up with a conservative approach to revenue projection. And that was something that we built in at the beginning part of this process. I think as previous speaker spoke that we've been working on this since December 15th. It's kind of difficult in the middle of the Christmas season to come up with an accurate budget projection, but as I've indicated to you, the House and Senate are in agreement, particularly on the lion's share of our state aid coming to the town. All departments took across the board, including the school district, a non-personnel cut of additional 5%. And that does not include things that we know we have to pay for, like snow and ice and insurance, and items that we know are fixed costs in our budget. So outside of the realm of our fixed costs, we asked department heads to come up with an additional 5% cut across the board. Matt? We were challenged, and we also very quickly put in place, because we knew this was going to be a very difficult budget year, a strategic planning process to try to think smarter, work together, build on programs that make sense, combining resources, if we could, in the budget between town departments. I'm also very happy to say that there are no staff layoffs or reduction in hours. And what does that mean? That means that I believe the town, in my humble opinion, has taken cuts, serious cuts, in personnel areas and reductions that have brought us to a point where we're trying to get better services, enhanced services out with the staff that we have. We also have maintained our lifeguard program, which if you walk the beaches like I did last summer, heard from many people visiting the town that they would not come here unless there were lifeguards on the beaches. They told me that, and I'm sure you heard that same sentiment, that this program is about bringing people back to Wareham, making sure that we have all the resources that we can put in place. We dusted off all of the equipment that was in storage in various parts of Town Hall and Multi-Service Center, and that equipment is now being used to safeguard and bring back, hopefully, a great share of disposable income and people visiting the town. And I have put, Matt, just go back 1 second. I have put the lifeguard program naturally under the harbor master. It makes a lot of sense. We've built up something called Safe Summer 2011, which links the harbor master, the lifeguards, emergency medical services, the police, foot patrols, bike patrols, sector cars, so that we have a program in place that we can be proud of. We also are working, as you know, on a fiscal recovery plan under the guidance of Powers and Sullivan. And by the way, there's no additional resources. You see everything in the budget that's here, that's either state aid, local resources that were captured, and it's built into the budget, as I have indicated. We also continue to fund, thank you for voting for it, a stabilization fund, a rainy day fund. We've also used new student interns to provide tremendous results in the health department, in the treasurer collector's office, and my office and other offices for college credit. We've also worked hard to upgrade the financial management system of the town, and we once again have provided my recommendation for the stabilization fund at 1.5 times from last year, $150,000. And just to give you an example, some of our costs that were lowered, our pension costs have been down a bit this fiscal year. So that's on the operations side overview. Capital side, the program I'd like to stick with is one I know that is near and dear to your heart as well as mine, your hearts, that the public safety programs that we embarked upon last spring to replace aging equipment, particularly in the area of emergency medical services. The state came in, inspected, and we had 2 vehicles off the road for 3 weeks, and we're working hard to ensure that in our capital plan that we can get an ambulance in the vicinity of, once again, one at $204,000. Also built into the budget, and I believe you have to be consistent with this. It can't be a herky-jerky type of program. Replacing our police vehicles, there's a line item in the budget for $50,000 to replace 3 new cruisers, and that's part of a continuing program to get the police vehicles up to full speed. We've also worked very hard with Mr. Campina, our new director, water wastewater, to look at electrical upgrades. We've got additional pump stations. How does that factor in with some of the old stations that we need to replace pumps and look at energy conservation measures, and also including additional upgrades to plant improvements and heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. And that's estimated at $100,000, and that's within the enterprise fund itself. Guy also has been working very hard on something called browning down, bringing down some of the electrical capacity at the pump stations in order to take advantage of, it might sound small, but $14,000 savings. Matt? So just to show you where the money comes from and where I'm recommending that it goes to, the state aid that we receive is 25% of the dollar bill that Wareham receives. 54% comes from our local property tax levy, including commercial, industrial, personal property, residential. 10% comes through the enterprise fund, the water treatment facility. 10% comes from the local receipts, including meals, motel, and hotel partial year. And let me just speak to this because it came up earlier. I just want to be absolutely clear. If you read the regulations like we did, the vote that this body took with regards to the meals tax, it was inferred to us that we would have to wait 1 cycle to get that up and working for the town. And we worked very hard to get the completed paperwork and documentation into the State Department of Revenue. And they said back to us, you're in line to get 10/12 if you want to move this program forward. We're going to have to verify all of the businesses that are in town, as we do every year. And that helped us with regards to bringing that additional revenue in. And let me just say this to you. If you look at the budget very carefully, you're going to find that the lion's share of it went to 2 places. The snow and ice bill that's hanging over our head, we spent $469,000 more this fiscal year to keep our streets cleaned in the middle of winter, making sure that through all the ice storms and various storms that we had, that I got plenty of calls from folks saying the town was safeguarded and very safe in their minds. And we've got to pay that. And I'm building part of that into this budget. The second part went to contracts and settlements. And it's my goal, because my board had asked me when I came on, to settle the outstanding contracts. Some of them now go back 4 years. And we have 2 tentative agreements that were hammered out last week that will get us to a point where we'll have 7 out of 11 contracts hopefully completed and in process, once again, using some of those dollars to be able to get agreement with our collective bargaining units and moving forward. Sorry, Matt. The other financing sources from cemetery, harbor master, parking fees comes out to 1%. Where does your dollar go? Well, 9% of it goes to public safety, and I lumped in there the harbor master and medical services. 6% comes off what we call the cherry sheet net offsets, which includes county assessments, snow and ice, and the assessor's overlay. And just to point out there, that is higher this year, up to $410,000, because we're going through a revaluation year. And that's a very intensive time for our assessors and for our staff in the assessor's office. 46% goes to education. 4% goes to our Upper Cape Vocational Technical School. I see the superintendent is here tonight. 10% goes to our enterprise funds, and you can see the overlay. We take 10 in, we spend 10 out. Employee benefits amount to health, pensions, and other insurances, 14%. 2% goes to municipal maintenance. 6% to general government. Everything else you found that we'll find at town hall or the multi-service center. 1% for debt service. And 2% for culture, council of aging, library, and veterans benefits. So you can see clearly in one place, in one snapshot, where the money comes from and where it goes. And I hope it provided some illustration to you this evening. Let me speak about the Healthcare Trust Fund. And once again, I apologize for a bit of the lateness of this, but we've been working with Powers and Sullivan. In the Healthcare Trust Fund is an excess of $3.4 million. And how it works, it's a client trust fund. The employer, town, puts in 75 cents on a dollar. The employee puts in 25 cents on a dollar. We buy insurance called stop-loss insurance. That means that if we have catastrophic illness, somebody is very, very sick, we're only exposed up to $100,000. So managing this account at the local level has a bit of a task, but at this particular juncture, certified and in the handout that you found in the out in the foyer was this arrowed system to show you that Powers and Sullivan has, as our independent auditors, certified to us that we have $3.4 million. You take out something called incurred but not reported, meaning at any given time this evening, one of our employees could take sick, needs to rush to the hospital, needs to see their doctor in the morning. There's like a 3-month window by which we track that. So we're going to set aside close to $1 million to cover that. And our healthcare consultants from GBS Services have indicated that's a standard procedure, that if we can cover 3 months of incurred but not reported, it's sitting out there. We need to make sure that we can cover the cost of that. If you take into account, so that nets down to, in the trust fund itself, $2.3 million in change in terms of trust fund net assets in this client trust fund. Now, several years ago, before I got here, somebody asked for an opinion from the Massachusetts Department of Revenue. And guess that opinion said that the only way that you can return money to the clients, all the clients, it has to be across the board, is to have a healthcare premium holiday. That's given 1 month or a period of time in the fiscal year. You actually take a break. The town does not put its money into the program. The individuals do not put their 25% into the program. and you take a month's break, and the actual trust fund pays for whatever costs are incurred for that 1 month period, or whatever period that we decide to do. So after we take our healthcare trust fund premium holiday, which is $1,477,000 and change, we will still have left in the trust fund close to another 3 months. So we're doubling the protection that we have based on the recommendations of our healthcare advisors and based upon what we see happening in this trust fund. And let me just tell you what I did, because we want to make absolutely certain that this one-time bridge in a very difficult fiscal year covers all the bases. We went back and trended the last 3 years and made sure that our 3-month set-aside was enough to cover us. And yes, it is. And we asked our healthcare advisors to look at those worksheets and tell us what they think. And they said, you're on your way to a premium holiday if the town decides to choose that it would like to pursue this. So left in the account would be, once again, an additional close to $1 million. And this is a procedure that Powers and Sullivan has said to us when you have difficult times and we are pressed. What can you do to lower the trust fund, keep a healthy balance, stay in the business, and make certain that we can move forward? And let's just leave you with one footnote. As I watched the state budget process and have for over 30 years, something very interestingly happened as the House passed its budget on April 27th, and the Senate is taking its budget up very shortly. But in their release, they have language that says that these trust funds, in some cases they're working, like in Wareham, in some cases they're not. And they're going to provide towns and cities across the Commonwealth with the ability to get labor unions or whoever back to the table to talk to them about what types of changes need to be made in our healthcare costs. And we have done that with 7 out of 11 of our labor agreements. And as soon as the labor negotiators understand what's happening, they work with us, and they have worked with us to make sure that we carve out, and that we make sure that we can have co-pays that are reasonable, and that we're working together. Imagine actually checking a medical bill before the town pays for it. It's a wild thought, but that's something that we're shooting for and we're working on. So this legislation, this state budget that's working its way through this process in both the House and the Senate has this provision where unions need to come back to the table and talk to management, although it's happening in Wareham without anybody forcing us. But if you don't hit the bar at a certain level, and I'm not sure what that is yet because there's like 30 pages of gobbledygook, if you don't hit the mark, the state has the ability to come in and take over the trust fund. So we could see this surplus evaporate. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying that they can force us. It's an interesting time in Boston. I'm just trying to keep you updated as to what I'm seeing happen in both the House and the Senate budget. Matt, next screen. So I know it's a little bit difficult to see, but you can see the numbers that I've reported to you, foot down, and go back directly to what is in the illustration. And once again, following this theme, it's a one-time deal, one-time opportunity. And also, let me just point out on the timeline, the gentlewoman earlier this evening was correct. We don't have a balanced budget by July 1st. The state will not set our tax rate. What does that mean? Additional interest charges to the town that are unnecessary and should not be paid, in my opinion. What I'm hoping to do is to have this pass, give us an opportunity to continue to monitor the Health Care Trust Fund. And then sometime middle of the fiscal year, December, January, take a period of time, see how we're doing for the first 6 months, and then employ the healthcare premium holiday for 1 month, lower the trust fund, even though it has that, once again, buffer of 2 times what is being recommended, take it down to a level, take a look at it, and see how things stand, and in May or June, make additional adjustments if we need to during the fiscal year. That's my recommendation, and I stand by it.
Thank you. May I have the vote of the Board of Selectmen? sure I did. Okay,
The vote of the Board of Selectmen was favorable action, 3-2-0.
thank you. And the FinCom?
The Finance Committee voted favorable action 1-5-2.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we're approaching the hour of 10 o'clock. I would like to get a sense of the body as to whether you would like to suspend the rules and go past 10 o'clock. All those in favor of staying past 10 o'clock to complete action on articles? I just want to get a sense. Let me get a sense, and then I'll come back to you. All those who would be willing to stay past 10 o'clock to finish Article 6, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
No.
Okay, I just wanted to get a sense. Ms. Burrows?
Madam Moderator, I was curious how many articles we have left.
14.
14.
In addition to the budget.
May I make a motion to go past the hour of 10 to complete the budget tonight?
Do I hear a second? I have a motion to go beyond the hour of 10 o'clock to complete Article 6 on the budget. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? No. Motion fails. I would now entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting till tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock in the auditorium.
Point of order, Madam Moderator.
State your point.
Before the motion is taken.
State your point.
Just a question through you to the superintendent. Is this auditorium available next Tuesday, the 31st of May?
Yes, it is.
It is?
I believe that we've booked it. But that's not going to give us a sufficient amount of time to finish all of the articles. If where you're going,
well,
we are not going to be able to do it all in one night. And we have not booked beyond that. So I would entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting till tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Do I hear a second? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? We'll see you back here tomorrow. The motion passes. We'll see you back here tomorrow night at 7 o'clock.